So a lot of people think about a high output light and they immediately think of the marketing with the beam going across hundreds of meters and whatnot. But today I want to challenge you with that the marketing is different than the use case. And that's going to lead me into the product that I'm actually going to speak about today is the Cloud Defensive REIN 3.0. All right, big thanks to our sponsors though. Never want to forget those guys. X-Ring Supply, they have actually provided the REIN 3.0 itself because they know that I'm a big fanatic and geeky about cloud and different lights and whatnot. They also provided this Spitfire Gen 2 3X, which I'm actually comparing to different fixed powered optics like ACOGs and the Bravo 3 recently released from SIG. They also provided a lot of the ammo that you've seen through the 2,000 rounds. That's also stuff for the pistol that's going on. They've provided a lot of different stuff, and I really appreciate them. We've got more stuff coming out from stuff they've sent that I don't want to get into yet, but those guys are awesome. Use code all caps the boys, no spaces, with the number 5 at the end of it. They're going to help you out. The other sponsors that I would like to highlight is the one and only maker of the best plate carrier in the world, in my opinion. And if you don't share that opinion, you're wrong. Accept it. It's Javelin Concepts. I just want to show it to you. We already did a review on it. Okay. They also made this removable grid system right here. You don't have to put a pack on it. You can put anything you want on it. And now all of a sudden it's accessible to you while wearing the plate carrier. Javelin Concepts is extremely innovative, and I love those guys over there. They've got great customer service, and they make products that are designed by people that actually use the products in real environments. So you're not going to have any shortcomings with them. And if you have any needs in terms of those soft goods, hit them up and use code all caps the boys, no spaces. The last one that I would like to highlight specifically in terms of codes that you can use is going to be TOC Kydex. TOC Kydex has not only sent this mag pouch, but they've also sent a couple of other things like these gloves, right, from 22-1 Bravo, but they've also sent other pouches and things that are used along the belt line, which I'm actually going to be using here in a professional sense very soon. And I really appreciate them. I don't have a holster from them yet. He's working on that, but if you have any Kydex needs, hit them up, and that's going to be all caps the boys, no spaces. Shout out those guys. And real quick, I don't have a code for you to use, but Goon Beam, this is their IR illuminator. We've reviewed their white lights before. I'm using this for a night vision series that's taking a while, but I wanted to give a special thanks to them. If you are looking for the best high output light that you can, but cannot afford Cloud or Mod Light or Malkov / Arasaka, Surefire, whatever, if you're on a Streamlight budget, Goon Beam is going to be by far the best option for you. I mean, those guys will blow the socks off of anybody in their price range, and they actually compete with the big boys like this. So shout out Goon Beam. I can't thank those guys enough for everything they've done to support the channel too. And shout out Baron the Outlaw. That guy's awesome. I'm going to miss him when I move back to Kentucky. And go get training. Go get training. Maneuver Training Solutions, Orion Training Group, Tyler Tharp with Synergy Training. Let's see, Reed Hendricks at Valor Ridge. Learn some constitutionality behind your training. Jay White with Sinistrom Training. You got Tim Herron. You got Riley Bowman. There's a ton of different guys you can go train from. Go do it. Learn how to be the most effective American rifleman that you can be, so you can actually be prepared that if freedom needs preserving, you can do everything in your possible power to preserve it for not yourself, but for your future generations that are to come. And that's real. Owning this stuff is one thing, but knowing how to actually execute and utilize the stuff you own, that's the most important thing. There are, again, a lot of misconceptions. Hey, if I can shine out to 500 meters with this thing and PID something, that's what I'm going to do in a real use case, especially in a dynamic or hard use environment, whatever that may be for you. That's not really the point of them, though. The way that those are marketed, that is just a way that can catch your attention, and that's good. There's nothing wrong with that, because when we're trying to sell something or whenever we're trying to present the capabilities of something, we should be able to catch your eye. But I want to challenge that a little bit, and instead of just reviewing the 3.0 as in a vacuum, I want to be able to review it today in a use case that I think maybe you haven't thought about. All right, so in one of these use cases that I'm going to talk about, One, I'm just gonna quickly hit on the Cloud proprietary things, right? Cloud has a proprietary tape switch right here. A lot of people hate it, a lot of people love it. You get what you get. Right here, what's cool though about it is on the ends, you have where the tail cap is, it is integrated to the tape switch. If the tape switch wire were to get cut, and a lot of people know this, but if you don't, if the tape switch were to get cut, it's actually its own circuit, I guess, for a lack of better terms, monkey terms. So if that does get cut, you can still actually use the tape switch as a fail-safe. That is awesome. The other cool thing, cable management integrated into the tape switch, you're not gonna find another cable management that can beat it. It's got these grooves on the outside of the Picatinny on the top rail to where the cable actually fits into. So therefore, you don't have to go buying all these extra cable management things or make it look all crazy with zip ties and whatnot. That's just a little nice added addition. Right here, you're gonna see this black piece, this black piece, this black piece right here, and it goes on to the other side. That is so you can actually position the cable to be wherever is going to be best for that cable management. There's a lot going on here in the back, and that's actually something that I appreciate wholeheartedly for someone that doesn't just like a whole bunch of stuff on their rifle. All right, so if you are one of those people that does not like a, I guess, proprietary setup because you've got mod buttons or you've got Unity buttons, or if you're running like a PEC and you want to be able to integrate your light into the IR and all these other things, there's a solution for you, and it is not the Cloud Legacy body. You could get the Cloud Legacy body, but Fernalab, which we've done a review on the RSA, it's an adapter that goes right here on the back. They make an adapter that allows you to do the same thing that the Legacy body does for a much cheaper price. And Fernalab, if you like to support a small business that makes quality product, hit those guys up because it's awesome stuff. Our original conclusion with that was it's technically just slightly below output, and Cloud originally told us that if that's the case, running at a lower circuit or lower voltage, whatever they called it, could potentially damage the head of the electronics, and they wouldn't cover that under warranty. So then that's what we said in the review. It's a great product, but be aware of that. Now they released the Legacy body, and it also has a lower output due to the fact of the aftermarket switches that people are using now. So keep that in mind. I don't think there's going to be a difference, but I can't say objectively. Just keep that in mind. So you could look this stuff up on your handy dandy tracking device that doubles as a ringer machine. You could look all those things up, but the specs on this are insane. It's 100,000 candela with 1,250 lumens and a 95-minute runtime. And I can't do a scientific test to guarantee those numbers in terms of the output, but I will say that they seem consistent because it is the brightest light I've ever used, and as you've seen on the channel before, we've used a lot of bright lights, and this blows them all out of the water. I have not experienced well tool though, so keep that in mind. In terms of the output itself, the reason that this stuff is important is for a couple different things. Again, as I've mentioned before, it's not for you being able to PID something at an extremely far distance. You know, if you're into hunting and spotlighting and stuff, if it's legal, then cool, that's awesome. But the whole point of it actually has a real use case in real life, in combat environments, duty environments for police officers, and more importantly, as an American civilian who is trying to prepare themselves for a inevitable collapse of society. An example of these, so I can stop rambling and you'd be like, well, what's he talking about, dummy? Let's think about daytime, okay? If you've ever been, even just in training environments, or if you could just think about your everyday life, take away the firearms and stuff, just think about places you've been. There are plenty of instances to where you are going to be outside of a structure and need to gain a situational awareness inside of what you have gathered to be and established as dead space within that structure. What do I mean by that? You could be outside of the structure, and as I'm talking, you're gonna see some shots come up to prove the point. You're gonna be outside of a structure, and say there's windows that are actually blocking your situational awareness into that structure. How are you going to be able to gain that situational awareness to what could be a potential threat inside of that dead space that can see you, but you can't see him? How are you going to give yourself a little bit, or at least bridge the gap of that disadvantage that you inherently have in that situation? One of the best ways you're going to be able to do it is with a high output light, and not just high output in terms of lumens. Right? You're going to need that candela. Reason being, in order to actually push through that window and push through that window and light up the space on the inside to where you can now see, you're going to need a focused hotspot. And that's why, again, I think that 100,000 candela just blows everything else out of the water. Does that mean that other lights can't do it? Absolutely not, because as you've seen, if you have ever been online, all of the high output lights can do it. Where I think this matters is because this does it considerably better, okay? Now, on the lumens point, does that mean that we just throw away the lumens? Absolutely not, because once you've made entrance into that structure, now what is important? You also need to be able to have a situational awareness of the surrounding area of what you can see, not just the hot spot. So you don't want to rely on just a hot spot and say that you're good. This is where I think cloud, again, shines above its competition. I've got my personal problems with cloud, but we're speaking about the product. What they do very well, not only do they have an extremely high candela, but they have a considerably higher lumen output to combine with the candela. Again, 1,250 lumens to go with 100,000 candela. I won't say any names, but there's another company out there, high competitor, that has high candela and then like 500 or 600 lumens, right? It works, but this just works better. And then also, if we think of you're outside of a structure, you don't even need to see through a window, right? But you can still see that it's pitch black inside. That's dead space. You've got to be able to see inside of it. And if you're outside, you've got a lot of radiating light like what's out here, okay? What's going to happen is if you have something that's just high lumens and not enough candela, it's going to get washed out when it's trying to produce that light downrange into the dead space that is apparent, okay? So I know that that can kind of be like word jarble, but essentially to round that out, what that means is these high output lights have a use case that's more than just being useful at night. They're useful in times of day that you would not have to, that you would not be able to have an ability to bridge the gap of disadvantage that you have against a defensive force without them. All right, now on to durability. You're going to notice that this video is going to have a little bit of a lack of live nighttime footage. The reason being is because I've been preparing for a move, moving back to Kentucky, and it's been hard to essentially schedule the nighttime range trips, which everybody that shoots at nighttime knows those are a lot more difficult than daytime range trips. What we have done is up the ante on the abuse. Now, cloud has a reputation of being durable. I dropped a owl off of 3 stories onto concrete, which hopefully I can get to overlay for you here, and it survived. The 2.0 that we reviewed, that survived a whole bunch of abuse, and we also have a 1.0 in the product that's in the project that survived a ton of abuse. So the 3.0 we had to keep up with the reputation that we have for putting the gear to the test. Again, you're going to see videos of us dropping this onto concrete multiple times, a ton of shooting footage. This does have, for anyone that's wondering, over 2,000 rounds on it at this point. I have dropped it so much that I've actually had to change the mount. This did have a Thorntail mount from Haley Strategic, the old one, not the new one. And then I've had to change it since then to a Surefire one-piece. And I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up, but there's actually a crack here along the bottom of the Surefire mount. So I've managed to break multiple mounts before I've been able to break the light itself. If you look, you'll actually see this is not a scuff mark on the just on the outside. These marks that are on here are actually through the anodizing, specifically right here. So this light body and head, and specifically tail cap, has been through some stuff that could be scraping on doors, like so, whenever coming through a structure. That's from the drops, whole tons of stuff. The one thing we haven't been able to do is test Cloud's lens, okay? And what I mean by that is Cloud has I think it's like 3 millimeter thick lens that they have. It's supposed to be able to take a direct impact from 5.56 ammunition at its peak velocity. I haven't been able to do that, but I do know this is the same lens that's in the owl, and again, we dropped that off 3 stories onto concrete. So, on to durability, to round it out, it's just as durable as everything else Cloud puts out. I have seen people report that they've seen some flickering issues. My recommendation to that, if you're having flickering issues with Cloud, you unscrew this piece of the tail cap, unscrew this piece of the tail cap after you remove the tail cap itself from unscrewing it, and then you'll look, you have what's called a battery jack. You tighten that piece down, and it actually adjusts for the size of your battery. You want to make sure that's tight, and then put everything back together so there's no wobble with your battery. You want to make sure you have a strong connection there for the circuits. Other than that, I don't think you're going to have an issue. All right, so to conclude everything, there's a lot of really good lights out there. There's pick your favorite brand. I don't care. I'm never going to tell you that you're wrong as long as it's a quality light. Cloud has some things in terms of business policies that I do not really necessarily agree with, and I've said that. But if we're putting everything in a vacuum in terms of product performance, I do not believe that there's a light that I've experienced yet that is going to perform better for you in an austere and dynamic environment than the 3.0 itself. All right, so what I want to start doing at the end of all my videos, some people might not like it, and that's fine, but this is where I think it's important to start out, is actually with this verse in Matthew. And it's about Christ bringing division within your life when you follow him. And we're actually going to start in Matthew 10, 34 through 42. And it's, "Do not think that I came to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I came to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies will be the members of his household. He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. He who has found his life will lose it, and he who has lost his life for my sake will find it." So, and actually we're going to end it at 39, my bad, I didn't mean to say 42. Why I think that's important and why I wanted to say that, because essentially what it comes down to, when you start following Christ, the relationships that you have with family, friends, professional, business, a lot of those, they're not going to receive your relationship with Christ well at all, because when we are followers of Christ, we are called to evangelize, and for that I'd fast forward to the Great Commission at the end of Matthew. But by you loving your God with all your mind, all your body, all your soul, as we are called to do, it's going to rub a lot of people that you care about the wrong way. But as we see here, what God is saying, Jesus, our God, is saying, is that's going to happen. Right? Following him is not going to be easy. There is going to be a division. But the keynote that he says, "Those who love their father or love their children more than me is not worthy of me." So what that's saying is if we value as humans our relationships with people that we care about more than the one who provided us the capability to even have those relationships, right? If we care about the blessing more than the one that is gracious enough to give us the blessing, then we're not worthy of him. And what's going to happen at the end is we're going to hear those absolutely terrifying words of, "Depart from me, you worker of lawlessness, I never knew you." So I just wanted to end that with this and say that be the hardest man that you can be, but be the hardest man that you can be with love. Do not seek to take lives for the sake of taking them. Seek to be the man that has the ability to take a life, if need be, but not to take it, but to take it to save someone else's. And make every one of your thoughts, your words, and your actions from the rest of your life with him at the forefront. And you can't go wrong. If you go wrong, it's your fault, not his. But there's grace to redeem yourself. And I just wanted to share this with you because he's changed my life, and he can change yours too.